The silence before the storm captain. Elena Vasquez stood before the massive viewport of the UES Retribution, watching Earth's blue marble slowly rotate beneath them. The flagship of humanity's defense fleet hung in high orbit, its sleek black hull bristling with weapons that the galaxy had never seen in action. 3 hours remained before Earth would deliver its final answer to the Zephyrian Empire's ultimatum, and Elena could feel the weight of billions of lives pressing down on her shoulders. The bridge hummed with quiet efficiency around her. Officers moved with practiced precision, their faces masks of professional calm that barely concealed the storm of emotions beneath. Everyone knew what was coming. The decision had been made in the deepest chambers of Earth's government, and now it fell to the military to carry out humanity's will. "Captain," Lieutenant Commander Jackson called from the communications station, his voice tight with controlled anger. "We're receiving the final transmission from New Geneva Colony. It's what we expected." Elena turned from the viewport, her jaw set. "Put it through to my ready room. And Jackson, make sure every department head sees it. They need to understand exactly what we're fighting for." The ready room felt smaller than usual as Elena activated the holographic display. The image that materialized before her had been transmitted across 37 light-years of space, carrying with it the final moments of humanity's newest colony. New Geneva had been a paradise world, green and fertile, home to 50,000 civilians who had volunteered to push the boundaries of human exploration. The recording began with Ambassador Krell, the Zephyrian representative, his reptilian features twisted with what could only be described as cruel satisfaction. His scaled hide gleamed purple-black under the colony's artificial lighting, and his vertical pupils dilated with pleasure as he spoke. "Citizens of Earth," Krell's voice carried the sibilant accent of his species, "you have witnessed the consequences of defying the Zephyrian Empire. New Geneva Colony has been cleansed of human presence. 50,000 of your kind have been eliminated to demonstrate our resolve." The camera panned across the colony's central square, revealing the horror that would haunt Elena's dreams for years to come. Bodies lay scattered like broken dolls, families who had died trying to protect each other, children who would never grow up, scientists who had come to study alien botany and ended up as casualties of interstellar politics. "Your species has 72 hours to surrender unconditionally," Krell continued, his forked tongue flicking out to taste the air thick with death. "You will abandon all colony worlds beyond your home system. You will submit to Zephyrian oversight of your technological development. You will accept tributary status and provide us with 20% of your annual production. Refuse, and New Geneva will seem merciful compared to what befalls Earth." The transmission ended with Krell's cruel laughter echoing through the empty colony square. Elena sat in silence for long minutes, her hands clenched into fists on the desk before her. When she finally activated the ship's internal communications, her voice was steady as steel. "All department heads to the war room. Immediately." The war room filled quickly with the senior staff of the Retribution. Admiral Chen Wei joined them, via holographic link from Earth, his weathered face bearing the marks of sleepless nights and impossible decisions. Dr. Sarah Martinez, the xenobiologist who had escaped New Geneva's massacre, sat pale and shaking, but determined to contribute to humanity's response. "Ladies and gentlemen," Admiral Chen began, his voice carrying across space with crystal clarity, "as you've all seen, the Zephyrian Empire has made their position clear. They believe humanity is weak, scattered, and incapable of meaningful resistance. They view us as primitives who stumbled into space travel through luck rather than ingenuity." General Marcus Thompson, head of Earth's Defense Force, leaned forward in his chair. "They're about to learn how wrong they are. The cabinet has voted unanimously. We reject their ultimatum completely. Operation Starfall is authorized for immediate execution." Elena felt a chill run down her spine. Operation Starfall was humanity's most closely guarded secret, a military strategy so devastating that even most of the fleet's senior officers didn't know its full scope. For months, Earth's finest minds had been preparing for this exact scenario, building weapons and tactics designed to exploit every weakness in the Zephyrian Empire's vast but overconfident military structure. "Captain Vasquez," Admiral Chen continued, The Retribution will spearhead Task Force Alpha. Your target is the Zephyrian homeworld of Zephyr Prime. You'll have 48 hours to reach the system and achieve total orbital control before the second wave arrives. Understood, Admiral, Elena replied, though her mind raced with the implications. Zephyr Prime was the heart of an empire that spanned 300 star systems. It was defended by the largest fleet concentration outside of Earth itself, with orbital platforms that could theoretically hold off an entire invasion force. Dr. Martinez spoke up, her voice still hoarse from the trauma she'd endured. Captain, there's something else you need to know about the Zephyrians. I've studied their culture extensively. They're apex predators who evolved on a world where mercy was weakness. They literally cannot comprehend the concept of restraint. In warfare, when they attack, they commit everything to total destruction. That's exactly why we're going to succeed, General Thompson said grimly. They expect us to fight like them, with gradual escalation and territorial conquest. They have no idea what human total war actually looks like. Elena nodded slowly. Humanity had learned the art of total war through bitter experience, from ancient conflicts that had nearly destroyed their own species, to the calculated precision of modern strategic doctrine. The Zephyrians had grown soft in their dominance, ruling through intimidation rather than true military excellence. What about the other alien species? Elena asked. The Carillion Federation, the Altarian Trade Union? They've remained neutral so far, but once we start this, they'll choose sides quickly, Admiral Chen replied. Our intelligence suggests most of them are terrified of the Zephyrians, but too weak to resist alone. If we demonstrate that the Empire can be defeated, some may join us. Others will try to stay neutral until they see who's winning. The briefing continued for another hour, covering target assignments, communication protocols, and contingency plans. Elena learned that Task Force Alpha was just one of 12 simultaneous operations. While she led the assault on Zephyr Prime, other human fleets would strike key industrial worlds, communication hubs, and military installations throughout Zephyrian space. The beauty of Operation Starfall, General Thompson explained, is that it turns the Empire's size against them. They're spread thin, governing through fear rather than loyalty. Take out their command structure simultaneously, and the whole edifice collapses. As the briefing concluded, Elena found herself alone with Dr. Martinez. The scientist's hands shook as she poured herself coffee from the war room's dispenser, her eyes haunted by memories of New Geneva. Doctor, Elena said gently, you don't have to be here. You've been through enough. Sarah Martinez looked up, her eyes blazing with a fury that surprised Elena. Captain, I watched those monsters murder children for the crime of being human. I saw them laugh while families begged for mercy. If my xenological knowledge can help you destroy them, then I'm exactly where I need to be. Elena nodded with respect. This was what the Zephyrians didn't understand about humanity. They saw weakness in compassion, inefficiency in cooperation. They couldn't comprehend that the same species capable of infinite gentleness could become absolutely ruthless when pushed too far. 2 hours before the deadline, Elena stood on the bridge as the Retribution's massive engines came online. Rendezvous, Earth 200 warships of various classes were departing their orbital positions, each heading for predetermined jump points that would take them deep into enemy territory. The coordination was flawless, the result of months of planning and centuries of military evolution. All stations report ready for hyperspace transition, Lieutenant Commander Jackson announced. Task Force Alpha is assembled and awaiting your orders. Elena looked out at the fleet surrounding her flagship. These weren't the largest ships humanity had ever built, nor the most heavily armed by conventional standards, but they carried something the galaxy had never seen before. Human ingenuity weaponized by absolute determination. Each vessel incorporated technology that had been developed in secret, advances in physics and engineering that would redefine space combat. Open a channel to all ships, Elena commanded. When the connection was established, she spoke with the calm authority of someone who had already accepted the weight of history. Ladies and gentlemen, we are about to embark on a mission that will determine the future of our species. The Zephyrian Empire believes humanity is weak because we choose diplomacy over aggression. They mistake our restraint for inability. They think our compassion makes us vulnerable. She paused, looking out at Earth one final time. They're about to learn the difference between a species that chooses peace and one that's incapable of war. Today we show the galaxy what happens when humanity stops holding back. Today we write a lesson in the stars that no species will ever forget. The hyperspace transition began with a low hum that built to a crescendo. Elena watched through the viewport as space twisted and warped around them, stars stretching into lines of light as the fleet entered the quantum tunnel that would carry them to their destiny. Behind them, Earth fell away into the cosmic distance. Ahead lay the heart of an empire that had never known defeat. In exactly 72 hours, that empire would cease to exist. The Zephyrians had demanded humanity's surrender, but they were about to receive something entirely different. They were about to witness the birth of a legend that would echo through the galaxy for millennia to come. The day humanity chose total war, and the stars themselves burned with regret. When the stars burned, the hyperspace transition ended with a brilliant flash as Task Force Alpha emerged at the edge of the Zephyr Prime system. Captain Elena Vasquez felt the familiar disorientation of quantum travel fade as her enhanced neural implants synchronized with the Retribution's tactical systems. What she saw through the viewport made her breath catch in her throat. Zephyr Prime hung before them like a malevolent jewel, its purple atmosphere swirling with toxic clouds that had given birth to the galaxy's most ruthless predator species. The planet was surrounded by a defensive grid that should have been impregnable. 3 massive orbital platforms, each the size of a small moon, bristling with weapons capable of cracking continents. Between them moved the Zephyrian home fleet, over 400 warships that had never tasted defeat. "My God," whispered Lieutenant Commander Jackson from his station. "Intelligence said they were strong. But this is exactly what we expected," Elena replied calmly, though her heart hammered against her ribs. "Tactical, initiate Protocol 7. All ships are to maintain radio silence until the fireworks begin." The Retribution's advanced stealth systems engaged, bending electromagnetic radiation around the hull and masking their heat signature. One by one, the 47 ships of Task Force Alpha seemed to vanish from existence, becoming ghosts in the void. The Zephyrian defenders continued their patrol patterns, completely unaware that humanity's most advanced fleet now moved through their territory like death itself. Dr. Sarah Martinez stood beside Elena on the bridge, her xenobiological expertise crucial for what came next. "Captain, I'm reading massive biosignatures from the orbital platforms. They're not just military installations, they're cities. Each one houses approximately 50 million Zephyrian civilians." Elena nodded grimly. This was the moment that would define not just the battle, but humanity's soul. The easy path would be to destroy everything, to rain nuclear fire down upon military and civilian targets alike, until nothing remained but radioactive ash. It was what the Zephyrians would do. It was what they expected humanity to do. Communications. "Open a quantum channel to Admiral Chen," Elena ordered. "Priority 1 encryption." Admiral Chen's weathered face appeared on the main screen, transmitted instantaneously across 37 light-years through quantum entanglement. Behind him, Elena could see the lights of Earth's military command center, where humanity's finest minds coordinated the most complex military operation in their species' history. "Admiral, we have visual confirmation of Zephyr Prime's defenses," Elena reported. 3 orbital platforms with significant civilian populations. Recommend we proceed with Variant C of the operation." Chen nodded approvingly. "Agreed, Captain. The galaxy is watching even if they don't know it yet. We show them that humans can wage total war without losing their humanity. Execute Variant C at your discretion." The connection ended, and Elena turned to face her bridge crew. These men and women had trained for this moment their entire careers, but nothing could truly prepare someone for what they were about to witness. "All stations, this is it. We're about to show the galaxy what human technology can really do. Dr. Martinez, please confirm all civilian evacuation routes are plotted." "Confirmed, Captain. I've identified 3 emergency spaceports on each platform, plus approximately 200 smaller docking bays. Total evacuation capacity is roughly 15 million per hour if they move efficiently. Elena activated the ship's quantum communicator, a device that existed in theoretical impossibility according to every other species in the galaxy. The signal reached Zephyr Prime instantaneously, bypassing their communication networks entirely and broadcasting on every frequency simultaneously. Attention! Zephyrian home fleet and orbital defense platforms. Elena's voice echoed through every speaker in the system. This is Captain Elena Vasquez of the United Earthship Retribution. You have exactly 60 minutes to begin civilian evacuation of all orbital installations. Any military vessel that attempts to interfere with our operations will be destroyed. Any civilian vessel that flees the system will be allowed safe passage. This is your only warning. The response was immediate and predictably arrogant. The main screen lit up with an incoming transmission from the largest orbital platform. A massive Zephyrian admiral appeared, his scales dark with rage and his vertical pupils dilated with fury. Human scum, the admiral hissed, his translator rendering his words in heavily accented English. You dare threaten the homeworld of the Zephyrian Empire with your pathetic collection of primitive ships? We have 400 vessels to your 40. Our orbital platforms alone have more firepower than your entire species possesses. Elena smiled, and it was not a pleasant expression. Admiral, my name is Elena Vasquez, and I want you to remember it. In 59 minutes, your entire fleet will be nothing but expanding gas clouds, and your orbital platforms will be drifting hulks. Your civilians have that long to evacuate. I suggest you start now. The Zephyrian admiral's laughter was a sound like grinding metal. Impossible. No species in the galaxy possesses weapons capable of threatening our defenses. Your ships are barely larger than our fighters. You're right, Elena replied conversationally. Our ships are smaller than yours. They're also approximately 300 years more advanced than anything you've ever seen. Retribution, demonstrate human hospitality for our guest. The flagship's main weapon came online with a sound like reality tearing. The quantum cascade cannon had been humanity's most closely guarded secret, a weapon that turned the fundamental forces of physics into a tool of war. A beam of absolutely nothing streaked across space, a column of pure vacuum that unraveled matter at the subatomic level. The beam touched the shields of a Zephyrian heavy cruiser, and the ship simply ceased to exist. No explosion, no debris field. Just empty space where a 1,000-ton warship had been moments before. The sudden absence of mass created a gravitational shockwave that sent nearby vessels tumbling out of formation. Silence fell across the communication channels. Elena could imagine the shock spreading through the Zephyrian command structure as their sensors struggled to explain what they had just witnessed. Finally, the admiral found his voice. What? What was that weapon? Our sensors detected. No energy discharge, no projectile. How did you? That was our smallest gun, Elena interrupted. Admiral, 48 minutes remain. I respectfully suggest you begin evacuation procedures. Chaos erupted throughout the Zephyrian fleet as commanders shouted orders and ships broke formation. Some vessels began moving toward the orbital platforms, preparing for mass evacuation. Others, driven by pride and military doctrine, formed attack formations and began advancing on positions where they thought the human fleet might be hiding. Elena watched their tactical display with professional interest. Fascinating. Dr. Martinez, what's your assessment of their response? The xenobiologist studied the movement patterns with clinical detachment. Typical apex predator behavior, Captain. Their society doesn't have concepts for tactical withdrawal or strategic patience. They're either running or attacking with no middle ground. Notice how their formations are optimized for intimidation rather than actual combat effectiveness. Indeed, they've never faced an opponent who couldn't be overwhelmed by superior numbers. Elena activated the tactical network that connected all 47 ships of Task Force Alpha. All vessels initiate Phase 2. Show them what a real fleet looks like. Space erupted in light as the human ships dropped their stealth systems simultaneously. But these weren't the vessels that had entered the system. Each ship had been rebuilding itself during the journey, nanomachines constructing weapon systems, and defensive arrays from raw matter stored in quantum compression chambers. The Retribution alone had tripled in size, its hull now bristling with enough firepower to crack a moon. The Zephyrian admiral's face went pale, his scales shifting to the sickly yellow color that indicated extreme fear in his species. Impossible. Our sensors showed 47 small vessels. You cannot simply create matter from nothing. You're absolutely right, Elena agreed. We didn't create it from nothing. We created it from the asteroid field your species uses for mining operations. Human nanotechnology is remarkably efficient at converting raw materials into whatever we need. In this case, we needed more guns. The first Zephyrian attack wave reached the human fleet's perimeter and died in seconds. Human point defense systems tracked thousands of incoming projectiles simultaneously, using microscopic black holes to create gravity wells that pulled enemy fire harmlessly off course. Return fire came in the form of weapons the Zephyrians had no names for. Temporal displacement cannons that aged enemy ships to death in seconds, matter converters that turned hull plating into exotic gases, and gravitational lances that crushed vessels like tin cans. 30 minutes remaining, Elena announced calmly as the second attack wave formed up. Admiral, I notice civilian evacuation has begun on Platform Alpha, but platforms Beta and Gamma show no movement. Are you perhaps having difficulty with your chain of command? The truth was becoming obvious as Elena watched the tactical display. The Zephyrian military had never planned for evacuation because they had never conceived of defeat. Their entire strategic doctrine was built around overwhelming inferior opponents through superior firepower and ruthless aggression. Faced with an enemy who outmatched them technologically, they were paralyzed by cognitive dissonance. Dr. Martinez leaned over Elena's shoulder, studying the bio-readings from the orbital platforms. Captain, I'm detecting massive population movements on all three platforms. It appears the civilians are evacuating on their own initiative with or without military approval. Zephyrian survival instincts are remarkably acute when properly motivated. Excellent. News? Communications? Patch me through to all three platforms. Civilian frequencies only. Elena's voice now carried across Zephyr Prime itself, translated into the clicking, hissing language of the Zephyrian people. Citizens of Zephyr Prime, this is Captain Vasquez of the human fleet. Your military has 15 minutes to surrender all orbital platforms. Any civilian vessel departing the system will be granted safe passage. We have no desire to harm non-combatants, but we will not allow military assets to threaten our forces. The response was immediate and overwhelming. Civilian ships began pouring from the orbital platforms like insects fleeing a disturbed hive. Cargo haulers, personal yachts, mining vessels, anything capable of spaceflight was pressed into service as the Zephyrian population fled their homeworld's defenses. Admiral Chen's face appeared on Elena's private communication channel, his expression mixing pride with concern. Captain, all task forces report similar success. We've achieved orbital control of 17 major systems in the past 30 minutes. However, we're detecting massive fleet movements throughout Zephyrian space. They're attempting to concentrate their remaining forces for a counterattack. Let them come, Elena replied. The more ships they commit, the faster we end this war. Any word from the other alien species? The Carillion Federation has declared neutrality and closed their borders. The Altarian Trade Union is openly celebrating our success. Several minor species have already reached out through back channels, offering intelligence on Zephyrian military installations. Elena nodded grimly. This was exactly what human strategists had predicted. The galaxy had lived in fear of Zephyrian aggression for centuries, but no one had possessed the military capability to challenge them directly. Now that humanity had demonstrated the Empire's vulnerability, long-suppressed resentments were surfacing. 5 minutes remaining, Elena announced as the last civilian ships cleared the orbital platforms. Admiral, you have shown wisdom in protecting your people. Now show wisdom in protecting your fleet. Surrender your platforms and withdraw your vessels beyond the system's edge. You will be allowed to depart unmolested. The Zephyrian Admiral's response was exactly what Elena expected. Never. The Empire does not surrender to primitives. All ships, Attack Formation Omega. We will die with honor. So be it, Elena said, sadly. She had genuinely hoped for a different outcome, but Zephyrian culture made surrender literally inconceivable for their military caste. All ships you are authorized to engage. Show them mercy, but show them strength. What followed could barely be called a battle. Human technology, developed in secret over decades of preparation, proved 3 centuries ahead of anything the Zephyrians possessed. Ships that had seemed invincible dissolved under quantum cascade fire. Orbital platforms that could withstand nuclear bombardment crumpled like paper under gravitational assault. In 12 minutes, the pride of the Zephyrian home fleet was reduced to drifting wreckage and expanding gas clouds. The galaxy watched in stunned silence as reports filtered in from across Zephyrian space. 200 star systems, each defended by fleets that had never known defeat, fell to human forces in a coordinated assault that redefined the concept of space warfare. The empire that had dominated 300 worlds for 1,000 years ceased to exist in 72 hours. Elena stood on the bridge of the Retribution as the final Zephyrian platform surrendered, its weapons powered down and its surviving crew requesting asylum. Around them, the orbital infrastructure of Zephyr Prime hung dark and empty, a monument to the speed with which empires could fall when faced with superior force. Dr. Martinez approached with her final report, her voice filled with a mixture of satisfaction and sorrow. Captain, final casualty reports are coming in from all fronts. Zephyrian military losses are approximately 95% across all engagements. Civilian casualties are less than 2% system-wide. It appears our evacuation protocols were successful. And our losses? 17 ships damaged, none destroyed. Total human casualties, 43 killed, 112 wounded. Elena closed her eyes, feeling the weight of those numbers. Each casualty represented a family destroyed, dreams unfulfilled, futures lost. But weighed against the potential cost of a prolonged war, the numbers spoke to the surgical precision with which humanity had applied overwhelming force. Admiral Chen's final transmission arrived as Task Force Alpha began the long journey home. Captain Vasquez, I wanted you to know that the Galactic Council has already received formal surrender from the remaining Zephyrian governors. The war is over. Moreover, 7 alien species have formally requested defensive alliances with Earth. The galaxy has seen what happens when humanity chooses total war, and they want to ensure they're never on the receiving end. Elena nodded slowly. They had achieved more than victory. They had achieved deterrence. The legend of the 72-hour war would spread through the galaxy's civilizations, carried by trade ships and diplomatic missions to every inhabited world. Future generations would learn the lesson written in the stars above Zephyr Prime. Humanity was a species that chose peace when possible, but was absolutely ruthless when pushed beyond endurance. Years later, when alien children asked their parents about the brief but absolute war that reshaped galactic politics, the answer was always the same. No species would ever forget the day humanity stopped holding back, the day they demonstrated that the kindest species in the galaxy was also the most dangerous when roused to anger. The stars themselves had burned with regret, and the galaxy would never be the same.